Hello, everyone. Faculty, could I get a thumbs up that everyone can hear me okay? Excellent, thank you so much. And a thumbs up that you can see the shared slides, please. Also great, thank you very much. So we're going to give folks a chance to join here. We have about 40 people registered. And while I imagine maybe not all will make it, we'll give folks a chance to log on. Hello, Kaylee. Welcome, folks, as you join. We're just waiting a few more moments to give folks a chance to join in the meeting, and then we're going to start our presentation. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer during the Q&A session, you are welcome to put those in the chat, or I think there's a Q&A function that you can respond to, hopefully. We will come to all of that at the end, so do hold your questions until then, please. All right. For the sake of our time, I'm going to ask if we could start with a round of introductions from our program faculty and staff who are here. I'll start us off. So my name is Hannah Harrison. I'm a faculty member within the Marine Affairs program, and I teach in the Master of Marine Management degree. I've been in the program for coming up on 3 years now, and I'm originally from the US and came to Canada about 6-ish years ago. I will, before I ask others to go, say that we are bringing this presentation to you today from Halifax, also known as Shubuktut. We are on the ancestral and unceded and contemporary lands of the Mi'kmaq people, which, if you're coming from outside of Canada, are the people who are indigenous to the land and waters here in what is now known as Nova Scotia in Canada. I'm going to pass over to Dr. Rachel Cadman, and Rachel, when you're finished, I'll ask you to pass to somebody else, please.
Hi, I am Rachel. I am sort of brand new professor in the program, but I actually did my PhD kind of within these walls as well. So I've been around for quite a while now. I realized the other day that Dal's student numbers have gone from B00 number to B01, and mine's B005, which makes me feel like I've been here for too long. But anyway, that's me.
Max, can I ask you to go next?
Sure, I think I'm a B001. So my name is Max Westhead. I am director of the Marine Affairs program here at Dalhousie, which is truly the best job in the world. I've also got 25 years of experience with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, working on the Marine Protected Area and Marine Spatial Planning programs here in the region and in Ottawa. I've been with the Marine Affairs program for 11 years now, teaching the Marine Protected Areas course, which is one of the electives we offer. Wilf?
Yeah, and my name is Wilf Swartz. I'm an associate professor here at the Marine Affairs program. I've been at Dalhousie for about 5 years. I'm a fisheries economist, so I deal mostly with international policies like trade and subsidy and so on. And I teach the politics of the sea, which is one of the electives for Master of Marine Management. And I'll pass it on to Katie.
Good morning, or afternoon, I suppose. My name is Kaylee Good, and I'm the program administrator for the Marine Affairs program. So my background is business administration. So I have a diploma in Business Administration from NSCC, and I also have a Bachelor of Management from Dalhousie University. I've been at Dal for 15 years now, so I'm a B004. And my background is typically research ethics, financial administration, and program management. So I will be the person annoying the majority of you if you decide to apply and come and join our awesome program. And who else
Thank
do
you
we
so much.
have? Yeah, I think that's everybody, right, Hannah?
Yeah, I think so. We have two other faculty members who are not able to join us today. We are a small unit, but we work very closely together. Those folks are Megan Bailey and Ramon Filiera. Ramon is originally from Galicia in Spain and teaches some of our science and technology courses within the MMM. He's a natural scientist who works primarily with aquaculture systems. And we also have Dr. Megan Bailey, who is a social scientist with an economics background. She teaches the fisheries elective within the Marine Affairs program and also one of our skills courses. And she works primarily on international governance issues, such as with tuna and tuna fishing commissions, but also does quite a bit of work here in Canada with Indigenous groups and thinking about equity and rights-based fisheries. So with all of that, we've prepared a presentation for all of you today, and then we'll go into our Q&A session afterward. Please note we are recording today's session. We plan to put it on the Marine Affairs YouTube page so that future students can also look through and understand a little bit of what we do, even if they were not able to attend with us today. So I'm going to minimize my screen there. And I'm just going to advance one slide. Did everyone see that advance? Can I get a verbal confirmation?
Yep, you're all good.
All right, excellent. So welcome everyone who's joining us today. This is a presentation about the Marine Affairs program. I'm going to start a little bit about, or I should say, it's a presentation about Marine Affairs, but it's more specifically the degree that we offer, which is the Master of Marine Management degree. It is a professional master's, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are as a program, a little bit about the degree itself, which lives in our program, and then a little bit about what we look for in an admissions package. And I chair the admissions committee this year, along with Kaylee, Ramon, and another person who isn't here today, Brianna. And we are looking for a few qualities and definitely a certain level of preparedness within what we see in our application. So we'll come to that in a moment. So to begin, this is a picture of the class that just graduated from the MMM degree. They're out now in the world doing a variety of different things. There we are. So what is the Marine Affairs program? Marine Affairs program is a program here at Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia. And our interest is kind of captured by this vision statement. So we are interested in transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary innovative learning. And we try and provide that to our students who we imagine to be the future leaders of many different types of work within the Marine Affairs realm, which is quite broad. That can include everything from energy to fisheries to policy, marine protected areas, etc. Our goals are to equip students with the knowledge and experience that they need to be able to go work and create those real world solutions and have a really, hopefully, meaningful impact on marine and coastal management wherever they are in the world. We really hope for our graduates to be catalysts for positive change in their careers. So with that, we provide interdisciplinary education. We offer collaborative research and work opportunities with host organizations, and we encourage students to develop their networks in the communities in which they might work through service and outreach. One of the core principles that we talk about in our program is that of being an honest broker. So we hope to train our students to be an honest broker, somebody who is able to critically think about a wide variety of types of information and advise in a meaningful and authentic way on how to make decisions, sometimes very challenging decisions, toward social and environmental equity and justice in marine and coastal management. So here's a few images of what that looks like for our students. You'll see more later in the presentation, but we really try and strike a balance of the in-class learning through a variety of core and elective courses that they take during their 16 months with us, as well as a hands-on internship with a employer or a host organization and combining that with really challenging students to exercise their skills through the development of a graduate project. So it's not a full thesis, but it does still reach that level of quality and of challenge within a master's degree. So if you are unfamiliar with our model, I mentioned we run a 16-month program. So that's 3 full semesters plus a summer of the internship. That is because we are a professional program, so not thesis-based, course-based instead. And our goal is to be able to send students out into the world afterward and be able to find employment within the marine affairs field, which the vast majority of our students do after they graduate with us. That is different from a thesis-based program that maybe a Master of Science or a Master of Arts that you might be familiar with. The graduate project is due in the December after they start, so the full 16 months later. And the program actually ends for most students after that 16 months, rather than adding a full another spring semester onto the program, which many a thesis-based program might do. So with that, we really value the relationships that we have and the support that we get from the marine management community, both here in Atlantic Canada as well as globally. And that has really been quite a diverse community over the years. So right now, this is the community we have here in the Marine Affairs Unit, where the MMM degree is housed. You've met just about everyone already, but there's Ramon and Megan there on the left, and you can learn a little bit more about them. We all do some related but quite different types of research and different types of teaching within the program. And I think one thing that really sets us apart as a program is we work really closely together to deliver the Masters of Marine Management. Very collegial, very close-knit, and we kind of think of ourselves as a professional family, and every year we look forward to welcoming a new cohort of MMM students into that professional community. We also benefit from a really outstanding emeritus. This is Dr. Lucia Fanning, who retired from the Marine Affairs program a few years ago, but continues to support through various projects and connections for students. We also are really lucky to have hundreds of different internship hosts that over the years have hosted students for internships, and many of them have gone on to employ our students afterward. We also benefit from many different academic connections at Dalhousie and other universities across Canada and the world who provide supervision as well as second readers for our graduate projects, which all students have an academic supervisor and a second reader who helps review their project at the end of the program. Our courses are also really devoted to making sure that students are hearing from real-world expertise in addition to the academic expertise. So we bring in over the years, many hundreds of guest speakers, guest lecturers, and we've incorporated some field trip opportunities into our courses so that students have an opportunity to not just learn, but also go and do or work with the people who are actually out there doing that work today. With that, we benefit from many cross-appointed faculty as well as adjunct professors who come and teach some of our electives some years. We've had many hundreds of PhDs, MSCs, and postdocs, research assistants who have come through our program and worked with us. And I think as of last year, we have 562 MMM alumni over the life of our program, which is about 38 years old these days. We're approaching that 40th anniversary very soon. Since our inception back in the 80s, we've had students come from a huge variety of places around the world. So from in the 80s and 90s, this is kind of the home countries of many of our students. We have benefited from directors from across the faculties of Dalhousie. In the 2000s, 2010s, this is what our group looked like, again, kind of coming from all over the world. And again, a different group of directors that have led our program through the years. And then today, this is what we look like. So you can see Max here and Kaylee leading our program today. Our program has become more Canadian focused over the years. We have more Canadian students as compared to international students, but this is something we really value, those international roots of the Marine Affairs program and the opportunity for students to learn from each other when we have backgrounds, lived experiences, work experiences from all walks of life and from all over the world. So we do continue to really emphasize international student enrollment as much as we can. So looking a little more closely at the marine affairs, or rather at the marine management degree requirements, this is a really broad outline of what that degree program looks like. So in the autumn, we welcome a new cohort of students. Usually we admit around 20 to 22 students every year. That cohort starts in September, and they immediately enroll in some of our core courses and usually a few electives as well. There are 5 core courses that students take throughout the 3 semesters of coursework that they do, and 3 electives that they can choose. And there's a really wide variety of elective options, both within marine affairs, but also more broadly across the university. And students have the opportunity to seek advice from the faculty here, but ultimately to make those decisions about what they would like to add. In the winter semester, we take a few more core courses, as well as probably at least 1 more elective. And then in the summer, students do remain enrolled, and they're in what's called MARA 5002, which is the graduate project course. Now, during the summer, you aren't attending a course, you are enrolled in one, but you aren't attending class, but it is part of your internship and the development of your graduate project that makes up the activities for that course. Once the internship is finished, and usually those run from May to August of that first summer for students in the program, students return to courses in the autumn. They take their final core course, which is Coastal Zone Management, and they remain enrolled in the graduate project course, where they then complete both of those things and finish the requirements of the degree. The final activity that we do every year is Making Waves, which is the opportunity for students to present their final graduate project work. They do an oral presentation in addition to submitting the written work of their graduate project. And those are also part of that overall grade 45002. So we approach this combination of core courses and electives for several reasons. And one of those is because we want to try and prepare students with a breadth of exposure as well as depth of exposure on the topics that are most interesting to them. So with breadth, we really approach that through the range of topics that we present in those core courses, as well as the field trips, the different speakers that we bring in. And then the depth of topic expertise that students can achieve is through the graduate project. So students choose a topic of their own that they are wanting to pursue as a research project. That's what composes the graduate project work, as well as opportunities to select your own topics for course papers, for assignments, and for your electives. And that's really where we see that depth of expertise build around the topics that are interesting to students. So I want to just share a few slides of what it looks like to be in the MMM program. So this is, again, the cohort that has just finished in December. We miss them already. We tend to get quite close to the cohorts. We really enjoy having them as part of our community here. And then when they go, we're so happy for them, but we also miss them. So this is that cohort at the Sustainable Oceans Conference, the last one of which was held in this past year. This conference will not be going on in the future. Rather, this was something that we used to do in the Marine Affairs program, and that we are now substituting with a hands-on practical field trip experience that students will have either in the first or the second year of their program, depending on the cohort. Here on the right side, you see an image. This is the Marine Affairs cohort out on the annual boat tour that we do of the Halifax Harbor. This is part of the 5010 course, MARA 5010, and that is the first part of the Contemporary Issues course, part of your very first semester. Marine Affairs students also pursue a lot of opportunities to develop their skill sets through speaking opportunities. Here on the left, this is Ojas. He's just finished, had a really interesting career as a merchant mariner in India, where he was originally from. Joined the Marine Affairs program as sort of a retraining opportunity, moving away from being an engineer on an oil tanker and wanting to pursue something more aligned with policy and in the marine management sphere. He also took on taking Toastmasters courses, or I should say participating in Toastmasters to really enhance those public speaking skills. So that really a great example of how students find other opportunities in the program to be able to build the skills and develop the qualities that they really want to do or want to be experts in by the time they finish. These are some examples of the presentations students gave last year. But we also try and do a lot of practical hands-on activities. So these are photos from my lab in particular, MMM students who have just finished, in addition to some students from other programs. These are examples of attending a salmon release held by Fort Folly First Nation in New Brunswick this last autumn, as well as visiting the Margaree River Valley in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia earlier in the spring. So really looking for opportunities throughout the program to connect students with choices to go out in the field, meet with organizations, get to know the marine management community in all of the different ways that it appears here in Atlantic Canada. I'll mention that students who are coming from abroad, if they are interested in pursuing internship opportunities for graduate project topics that are related to the countries that they're coming from, that is absolutely an option and something we encourage. All students are bringing their own background, their own knowledge, their own experiences, and we really value that. So we want students to be able to link the things that they're doing in the Marine Affairs program and the Masters in Marine Management to their prior experiences and really kind of bridge the opportunities that come from both places. So I'm going to move now to talking a little bit about admissions and what we look for in the admissions committee. So a few key dates for you to know about as applicants. Admissions are open until March 31st of this year. So we need to receive your complete admissions packet by March 31st. That means all of your letters and both stages of the application. If you would like to be considered for scholarship support, we need to receive all of those materials by January 31st. So that's coming really soon, just a few weeks away, which is why we're holding this webinar now, just to encourage people to try and get all their materials in a timely manner so they are eligible for scholarship consideration. We don't offer a tremendous amount of funding. We're quite a small program, so we do encourage students to look elsewhere for opportunities as well. But we do have a few scholarships through the Sobeys Fund for Oceans, which provides, I believe, 3 near full ride scholarships and a few other smaller pots of funding that we also give out each year. Applications are reviewed on a rolling basis, so we will begin review at the beginning of February, and we try and let students know as soon as possible if they've been admitted or if they have been declined. We'd like you to be able to make decisions and make choices that work best for you, so we do try and let you know as soon as we can. The sooner we have all of the pieces of your application, the sooner we can offer you some feedback. So one of the things we notice is that people have all of the parts in except their reference letters. It is the responsibility of applicants to follow up with your reference providers, make sure that they've actually sent those letters in, and those things have to be submitted directly to us. And so I'll end by reviewing a couple of the admissions process steps. So there are 2 steps to applying to our program. First is filling out the application with graduate studies at Dalhousie University and paying the application fee. The second part is something you can read about on our website, and I'll ask Kaylee if she wouldn't mind dropping the link for that in the chat now. That is a PDF packet that we ask you to fill out that contains a number of different pieces. All of that needs to be submitted together to Kaylee via email. And again, we need to have both of those pieces in before we can fully review your application. Now, I want to offer just a few tips on how to prepare a great admissions packet. So first things first, please read all of the directions that come with the admissions process. I want to apologize in advance. Dalhousie is going through some website renovation. So that right now it is a little confusing to find everything. When in doubt, you can email us directly. And Kaylee, if you wouldn't mind putting the email that students can reach us at in the chat as well. You can reach out to us directly, but please do read all of those admissions directions really carefully before you submit your materials. For our program, unlike thesis-based programs, you do not have to identify a supervisor or an internship host before you apply. Those are things you will figure out during the program, so you don't need to do all of that in advance. And we encourage students who are, there is a GPA cutoff for graduate studies at Dalhousie, so that's a kind of a university rule rather than our rule. GPA does matter. We are looking for students who are able to succeed in the graduate environment and within the academic side of things, but it's not the end all be all. If you are really close to that cutoff with your GPA, reach out to us. You can still submit an application. One of the important things for you to do in some of the supplemental files is explain, why is your GPA where it's at? Did you have a really tough first semester? Did you have a tough year somewhere during your undergraduate? Help us understand kind of your story so that we understand, is this GPA indicative of some bad luck? Is it indicative of maybe it took a little while to kind of get your college or your university chops together? Or is it that maybe a university just isn't your thing, which is okay, but then something we'd want to consider before asking you to come in and work in a graduate program. You will be, as part of that admissions package, asked to write a research statement. This is a really important part of how we evaluate your admissions package, and that's for several reasons. One, we're looking at your writing style, your writing skill. You do a lot of writing in graduate school, and our number one goal is to make sure that we're admitting students who are likely to be successful. We don't want to set people up to fail. We don't want to set people up to be miserable. So we really want to see that strong writing skill and your ability to select a topic and write something really comprehensive and concise about it. You can choose whatever topic you'd like. That choice of topic in your research statement does not dictate what you do in the program. So it can be something you're really interested in or something that you want to explore further, but it doesn't necessarily dictate anything you'll do here. Make sure that writing is clear, professional, and please proofread. Please give that a really close review before you submit. And make sure that any references or citations you use in developing your research statement are consistent in how you select a referencing style. We're not very particular about what you do, but make sure it's consistent, and make sure that the references and the sources you use are trustworthy. We do check for some of those things. You're also asked to submit a CV. I strongly recommend that you organize your CV from most recent to least recent experience, and that you showcase both your paid and unpaid experiences. So volunteering, internships you've done, positions you've held. The work that you do or the experiences you've had don't necessarily have to be about marine related issues. Sometimes people have been working at a restaurant for 5 years. We are interested in the skills and the qualities that you've developed from any type of work that you've done. That said, if you do have anything related to aquatic environments or marine skills, we'd love to make sure to see that in your CV as well. It is not a requirement to have marine experience to be in the program, but we'd love to know if you do. One key thing about CVs, please don't exaggerate or try and add padding to your CV. We understand that most people entering the program are coming from a big variety of backgrounds, so we're interested in knowing what you have done and what skills or experiences or qualities you developed from those different experiences. So make sure you give us all the details, but you don't need to exaggerate. We also ask you for a writing sample in addition to the research statement. So a writing sample can be really anything. It can be something you've received feedback on in the past, but it shouldn't be something that somebody else wrote the majority of. So if you co-authored something, make sure it's something that you led or that you did most of the work for. And if you can, explain what parts you are actually responsible for. So, you wouldn't want to select something that you only did, say, one small section of. You want to select something that really showcases your ability to write and what maybe you submitted in a class or to an employer in the past. If you did an honors thesis, and this is not the model in all countries, so if this doesn't apply to you, don't worry. But if you did an honors thesis, do make sure to submit that as well. And it's strongly recommended that one of your references is your honors supervisor. With respect to references, your application, again, won't be reviewed until all of those reference letters are in. So please follow up and make sure that people submitted those for you. We really recommend that you choose people who know you well and can comment really well on your ability to succeed at the graduate level. It's okay if these are employers, especially if you have been out of school for a while and you're coming back to a graduate program. You can look at the Graduate Studies website to kind of get some guidance on academic versus professional references. But we really suggest that you request something from somebody who knows your work pretty well. So sometimes we get references from people who maybe have a really big reputation or who are well known, but who don't know the student who asked them very well. And so they've written a few sentences, but it's actually not a very strong reference, even though maybe that person is really well known. So my suggestion is always go for somebody who knows you well, as opposed to someone who might be a bit more notorious or have a bigger reputation. Last but not least, ChatGPT is and is not your friend. So you may absolutely use AI to help polish or to help you get started on writing some of these things. Do not submit something that AI wrote for you. It is actually much easier to tell if something is AI generated than you might think. If we find that students or an applicant submit something that is primarily written by AI, that suggests to us that this person is not ready for this graduate program because they are not willing to put forward that effort to showcase their skills early. So be very, very careful about the use of AI. Make sure you are writing the majority of your work yourself and that you are doing it the old-fashioned way to review, proofread, etc. So that's the end of what we have to present for you. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to open to the audience for any questions that you might have. And feel free to ask myself or any of the other Marine Affairs Program folks who are here. And you can put it in the chat or you can jump on your mic, either way. Kiana, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for that presentation. It was super helpful. It's super awesome to get to see some faces that hopefully I'll get to eventually meet in the fall time. I'm really excited. I just wanted to know, I'm currently working for the Wolastoqey Nation, New Brunswick right now, and I was wondering if this is a program that you can work part-time with your job as well. And is it something that you guys recommend? I know maybe I can definitely do my internship with the current organization I'm with, but yeah, it's just something I'm curious about.
Absolutely. So when you say part-time, do you mean enroll in the program part-time, or do you mean work part-time in addition to the program?
Work part-time in addition to the program, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. There are options to do the program on a part-time basis. It's not super common, but particularly for like mid-career professionals, that is something we can talk about. With respect to working part-time, I think most of our students actually do tend to hold some part-time position in addition to their studies. Life is expensive, got to pay bills.
Yeah.
And many people are coming from organizations they've really enjoyed working for and want to maintain that connection. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's something that we would hope to help balance in terms of making sure that those time management skills are in place to manage it all. But yeah, absolutely an option.
Awesome, beautiful. Thank you, Hannah.
I'll mention, you mentioned that you've been working for an Indigenous organization. I'll mention, in case this is relevant to anyone on the call, I believe that the application fee is waived for Indigenous applicants. So follow up with graduate studies about that. I think that's been the case in the past, but something to keep in mind. I believe, and maybe Max and Kaylee can speak to this further, that this year we are offering one of the SOBI Funds for Oceans scholarships specifically for African, Nova Scotian, and Indigenous applicants. We're able to implement that this year?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So if that is relevant to you or anyone else on the call, make sure to indicate that in your application and apply before the January deadline. I see a question. Oh dear. Okay. I see a question in the chat. What kind of job opportunities are available for people who have completed this type of master's? Great question. That is very much the purpose of the program, is to help people connect with those employment opportunities afterward. So the answer is a lot. There are many organizations who have hired MMM students. I'm actually going to ask Max to chime in on that here in just a moment. She came to the Marine Affairs program after a long career in DFO, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans here in Canada. But I guess to give you a bit more detail, we find that students often are attracted to employment with the government entities, whether that's provincial or federal. So it's usually between 3 or 5 of our current cohort members do internships with DFO every year. Every year looks a little different depending on funding with the agency, but many students do that and then are kept on a temporary basis afterward or on a part-time basis afterward. We also have students who pursue the NGO sector, so World Wildlife Fund, Canadian Wildlife Federation, Ecology Action Center, just examples of NGOs here who have kept students on. This last year, we had a student intern with the Halifax Port Authority and stay on a casual basis afterward. So there are really a lot of different directions. Industry, NGO, and government are usually kind of the big categories that we think about, but it really depends on each individual student's interests. So Max, could I have you talk a little bit more about like how you've seen MMM students in the federal positions?
Yeah, sure. And I think Hannah's sort of captured it well, in that government and NGO are the two real big ones. And we are trying to expand a bit more into the private sector and sort of new opportunities for collaborations with other sort of sectors. Within government, it's been really remarkable to see how many of my former students being in the Marine Protected Areas class ended up being colleagues over the years. And I would say most of the Marine Affairs students within DFO are either working in the Marine Conservation Program, so Marine Protected Areas, and reaching the 30% protected by 2030 target right now, and also in fisheries management, and some even within the policy sector.
Thank you. I'm just reading some other questions here. So I see a question about the PhD program, so Marine Affairs actually does not hold a PhD program. We don't have like an internal one to our program. Faculty here tend to bring in PhD students through Dalhousie's interdisciplinary PhD program, or sometimes through oceanography or biology, depending on the person who's doing the hire. PhD opportunities kind of come up as funding emerges. If you are someone interested in a PhD, my suggestion is that you reach out to faculty who would be an appropriate supervisor for your topic, for the thing you're interested in studying. And you can usually work with that person if they have availability to either identify funding or perhaps match to funding that they already hold and pursue something that way. But that application process is actually entirely separate from the Masters of Marine Management. Let's see. I see a question from Heather that it looks like Kaylee has addressed, but applying to future years so you can tend after your current program. I understand and appreciate your enthusiasm. My suggestion actually is to wait. And for one reason is because we actually can only admit if you have that undergraduate degree in hand. So if that's still a year away from you, we really can't meaningfully assess your application. I also suggest, waiting until you're actually ready for that next step with respect to submitting an application, because that will be your strongest application. You'll have all your marks in, the most experience that you can have accumulated by that point, and that's going to be the strongest thing that you can present in terms of evaluation. Thank you so much for the questions so far. Are there any others that I can answer?
Anna, there's also a question in the Q&A about, do you accept recent PhD graduates, I believe is the question.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so generally speaking, the only reason we would bring in somebody who has finished a PhD is if they are making a pretty serious change in their career trajectory. So if, let's say, you have a PhD in musical theater or something that's quite different from marine affairs and marine management, and you were maybe you've had an amazing musical theater career and you're like, I really want to get into ocean stuff, I'm going to retrain. That might be somebody that on a case-by-case basis, we would be willing to admit and to really kind of restart their career in a different direction. That's something I would suggest that person reach out to us about. If you've just finished a PhD program, that's really probably not somebody who's mid-career and looking to retrain in something else. So this is probably not the right program for somebody who's just finished a PhD. However, postdocs are out there. So if you just finished a PhD and you feel like the type of work that Marine Affairs does is of interest to you, similar to looking for a PhD program, you might consider reaching out to faculty whose work aligns with either what you do or your training or something you'd like to train in, and see if there's an opportunity to take on a postdoc with them. Any other questions from our audience?
I had a question about the summer internships.
Sure.
Are you limited to just doing your internship in Nova Scotia, or are you able to do it across the country or even abroad?
You can do an internship wherever you want, as long as it is an appropriate host organization. So,
Awesome.
yeah, really, we've had students do internships all over the world for different organizations. Kind of the sky is the limit there. There are a few things we encourage students to keep in mind. So there is a difference between an internship and a job. We want students to do paid internships. Life is expensive. We want people to make sure that they're well supported, have appropriate dignity and respect to the work that they are doing for that organization. Usually our current rate that we're encouraging hosts to offer is about $15,000 from May through the end of August. So for the 4 months, that's about what DFO tends to pay, and they tend to be the most competitive wage offer. So we're all trying to compete with DFO to offer great money. So that's about where we see stipends, and usually, again, it depends on the employer, but if it's a stipend, it's usually tax-free. Sometimes it's employment, and so it's not tax-free, but it does come then maybe with some other benefits. It just depends on who it is. But we really want to make sure that it's an internship, which means that yes, you're doing work for that organization, but you have opportunities to learn, not just file paperwork or type or do kind of remedial tasks. We want someone to have the opportunity to really learn about what that employment field looks like. So that's kind of one thing that we care about. The other, of course, is it going to lend itself to your goals? Does it offer appropriate financial support, et cetera? So students, usually every cohort come in with some ideas of where they might like to go. We're super happy to support that as long as it's like an appropriate fit to that student and to their needs and to the goals of the program, which are that preparation for entering the working world.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. I see a few in the chat here. I'll talk about the scholarship eligibility for international students first. So the majority of the scholarships that we offer are open to international students. I think there's only one small one that isn't. Everything else is, including the SOBI funds for ocean scholarships. Emmy asks, should applications for internal scholarships be submitted in the same email as the program application or in a separate email? I'm going to actually ask Kaylee to comment on that process a little bit.
Sure. So the SOBI Fund for Ocean Scholarship is the only scholarship internally that we ask for a separate application from. So I'm going to put that link in the chat. So that is a completely separate process. We have a committee that reviews and makes decisions on that one. The other internal scholarships, which is MASS and holy smokes, Hannah, what's the other one I'm missing here?
We have graduate studies.
The graduate studies funding. So those are decided internally with the admissions committee. So those ones do not require a separate application. So I am just going to put the link here for SOBI so everyone has access to that. And then what I'm also going to do, the Faculty of Graduate Studies has a much broader, deeper pocket than the Marine Affairs program when it comes to scholarships and bursaries. So I highly recommend anyone looking for funding, they go through their process as well. You'll have to be careful when you review the different scholarships that they offer. Some of them have criteria that you may or may not meet. Some of them are directly for international students, some of them are not. Some of them require a specific background. Some of them are for master's programs, which are thesis-based, which our program isn't. So you just have to double check and really go through and make sure that you're eligible for them. But they do have quite a broader range. So I always encourage people to check them out as well. So I'll post that link next.
Thank you. Yeah, any other questions from our audience? Oh, thank you for putting that there, Kaylee. All right. Well, I'll give a few more minutes just in case anybody thinks of anything else that they would like to ask. In the meantime, I'll just ask any of the faculty here if there's anything else that you would want students who are considering the MMM to know as they prepare an application. I should have given you questions in advance, sorry. I think one thing that I would suggest is much of our teaching and much of what we offer is students tend to consider it to be somewhat based in the social sciences. I think from our point of view, like we do bring in a natural science lens in some of the courses as well. But we find that most of our students are actually coming into the program with a stronger natural science background. Not always, we get some political science folks in here sometimes, but often are coming from biology, oceanography, maybe natural resource management, some of these more natural science backgrounds. And a lot of what marine management is being able to critically think and deal with the policy and science and people aspects. And so a lot of our courses really bring in quite heavily those elements, which sometimes is surprising to students because I think they expected to like, well, how do you count and then save the whales? But in fact, it's just so much more complicated. So we really do our best to kind of mix the theory and the new ways of thinking that come through the social sciences and through kind of interdisciplinary approaches to difficult marine problems, as well as those practical experiences, either through expertise from outside the program, guest lectures and whatnot, or those internship experiences or field trip experiences. I think the other thing that can sometimes surprise students and feel overwhelming at first is that it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure. So you do get the choice to figure out, well, what electives best suit my interests, what internship, what graduate project topic are going to best serve the interests I have as an individual. And there is no right answer to any of that, which I think sometimes is like, oh, well, what if I pick wrong? I don't know if I've ever seen a student pick wrong. It's just rather picking something different. And I think that's a really exciting part of the program, to really be able to craft how you want it to look and how you want it to serve you and your interests. But it can sometimes be like, oh, well, what if I do something different? Like, that's okay. We'd love to see something different. So yeah, we try and let students know that it really is a program that lets students kind of drive their own vehicle a little bit and encourages them to really kind of self-direct some of their interests and apply the program to them. Any other thoughts, faculty and staff?
Yeah, I think, sorry, excuse me. Building on what you just said, it's not necessary, unlike other master's program, it's not necessary for students to have their supervisor picked up. They will have a chance to kind of explore the different issues in the first term and so on. But also at the same time, because we're a small faculty and a small program, it's going to be lots of work that's done between the faculty and the student. And so I would encourage students to kind of do a little bit of, reading up on kind of work that we do. You can just always throw our names in Google Scholar and you can kind of find out some of the papers that we've been working on. So that kind of gives you type of issues that we are addressing as a researcher, and hopefully that will help you decide what direction you want to go with your grad projects when you're writing your statement of intent and so on.
Yeah, I strongly agree. All right, I will do one last call for any questions. I give people back their time if they have other things they want to do today. I'm going to stick around until everybody's signed off, just in case anyone wants to ask anything just one-on-one. But otherwise, we really appreciate everybody attending today, learning about the program. If you happen to be a Dalhousie undergraduate student, we will also be at the upcoming grad fair in February. So we'll bring a couple of our very recent graduates with us who are there to kind of give you the student perspective. If you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to email me. I'm going to put my email address in the chat, or Kaylee. We're both happy to answer any admissions questions that you might have. But otherwise, that's it. Thank you so much for everybody for attending. It was a pleasure to get to talk about the program.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, everyone.